Hello everyone, this is Para-Beetle. Today's video is part 2 of a series of tutorials about Tinker's Construct 3 for 1.18.2. This video covers the melter, melting, and fluids, topics covered in puny smelting. The mod pages can be found in the description. You're probably already having fun with your tools, but chances are you want to try higher tier tools. For most materials of tier 2 and higher, melting equipment is required. The only accessible device that can create higher tier fluids as of now is the melter, or the alloyer, but we'll get to that in a future video. To get started, make a pretty large amount of grout. Personally, I do around 40, but you do you. Grout is used to make the book Puny Smelting and to make seared bricks, which will be used to make almost everything in the video. Once you have the melter, making seared bricks becomes twice as efficient. The melter is the first device that can melt down items into fluids. It can create extra nuggets from ores, has a fluid capacity of 12 ingots, can melt 3 items at once, and is the most fuel efficient. The melter is composed of 2 blocks, the seared melter and either a seared heater or any tank. The seared heater accepts solid fuel, and tanks accept liquid fuel like lava, which burns at a higher temperature. The melter's GUI is made of 3 parts: the items to be melted, the fluid tank, and the fuel. Seared heaters will display a fuel slot, while tanks display a fuel bar. Fluids have 3 different denominations: buckets, millibuckets, and kilobuckets. A millibucket is worth 1,000th of a bucket, while a kilobucket is worth 1,000 buckets. Different materials melt into different amounts of fluid. Ingots are worth 90 millibuckets, nuggets are worth 10, metal storage blocks are worth 180, gems are worth 100, gem storage blocks are worth a whole bucket, bricks, slime balls, and ender pearls are worth 250, brick blocks and congealed slime are worth a bucket, and slime blocks are worth 2 buckets and 250 millibuckets. Ores melted in a melter will grant extra material. Raw ores produce 1 ingot and 3 nuggets, while ore blocks produce 2 ingots and 6 nuggets. Fluids don't do anything on their own. You need to move them around to do stuff with them. Faucets, channels, buckets, and copper cans can be used to move fluids around. Faucets will transport fluid to the block directly below them. They can be placed to the side or on the bottom of fluid tanks. If a faucet is powered by redstone, it will activate. Redstone pulses will pour out contents until the destination is full, and constant redstone power will make the faucet constantly pour. Channels pair well with faucets, allowing more horizontal fluid transport. Channels will have arrows inside of them that indicate where fluid will flow. Channels can also be set to flow down if there is a fluid container below. Channels can be configured by right-clicking their sides or the top. If a channel is powered by redstone, it will toggle the ability to flow down. Buckets and copper cans can store fluid as items. Copper cans hold 90 millibuckets of fluid, which is equivalent to 1 molten ingot. Buckets and copper cans can be filled by either right-clicking fluid containers or having fluid be cast onto them. Additionally, copper cans can stack up to 16. Items inside of melters will be melted if there is a possible melting recipe. Every item has a unique melting temperature, but the 3 important thresholds are 650, 1000, and 1500, as these are the only temperatures available for fuel. Fluids can be casted onto casting tables and basins to cool into solid items. The most common way to do this is with a faucet directly above the casting table or basin. The amount of fluid required is dependent on the attempted recipe. If there is no recipe, the casting table or basin will not accept the fluid. There are 3 ways to cast fluid: fluid casting onto a blank casting table or basin, fluid casting onto a casting table with a cast, and composite casting. Casting tables can have casts on them to shape the item. There are 2 types of casts: sand casts and gold casts. Sand casts are made by placing an item onto an empty sand cast, and gold casts are made by casting molten gold onto an item. Composite casting is when you cast fluid onto an item. The base item is used up and is replaced by a new item. Gold casts, the book Mighty Smelting and the Encyclopedia of Tinkering, and some materials are made via composite casting. The sequel to this book, Mighty Smelting, is made by casting 1 brick worth of molten seared stone onto a book. Mighty Smelting contains information on the Mighty Smeltery, a larger version of the melter. Additionally, the Encyclopedia of Tinkering contains all technical information on tools, modifiers, and materials, but no information on other topics. It is made by casting 1 ingot worth of molten gold onto a book. That is all I have for today's video. Consider liking and subscribing to my channel, and I will see you next time for part 3. Goodbye.